Good evening, friends. Welcome to this EduSat session on the topic of the concept of power. This is a topic which pertains to your MA Sociology course, core course, Sociological Theory and Concepts. I am Dr. Archana Singh from Faculty of Sociology, School of Social Sciences, and I'm going to discuss some points regarding this concept of power with you. As all of you know that the concept of power or the term power is used in common parlance in many ways. We all know what power is when we put pressure on something. It has a physical existence or presence, and as a concept it is also used in physics. In natural life also you know what is the power or velocity of wind, or for example when we say that there is steam power or electricity power. So power has been used frequently in day-to-day lives, in our lives, in both physical context as well as social context, and as meaning which it derives from social life, from the interaction of individuals in day-to-day living. It has different connotations. For example, we talk about the power of this individual is tremendous. He is very forceful when he speaks to the masses. So power can be used in a very individualistic personality sense. Then the power of this community, the power of the class of people, middle classes, is well known when it comes to exercising political decisions or forcing the policies of the government towards a certain viewpoint. So power is used in a certain way by human beings in their interaction, not only as individuals in their relational life, that everyday life with each other, but also as collectivities, as social groups. We use power, and power, the play of power is seen in many areas, including the political area where it is very predominant, and in social, cultural ways also. There is always this angle of one group dominating over another group in terms of language, in terms of economic power, in terms of exercising ability to coerce the other person to behave in a certain way, which we as individuals or groups, we want to do that. So the basic understanding which we are arriving at about power. Power can be used in a very frivolous way also, like this actress has the power of attraction, or this person who his lifestyle is so powerful that he can influence everybody in his sphere of life. So all these are contexts in which power as a concept, as a terminology is used. Now, when it comes to sociology, we find that the concept of power has a very deep-rooted meaning, and it has been the constant topic of thinking, of formulating theories and concepts regarding this aspect of human interaction. And in that sense, we can say that most of the sociologists who have defined power, they tend to believe that power is the ability of an individual or group of individuals to get others to do what one wants them to do, even if it is against their wishes, or if they resist. So here we can say that there is something which exists. There are circumstances within which one group of people, they dominate over the others, or they exercise certain power over the others in order to get them to do what they wish to do. They wish them to do. So the concept of power is something which is very relevant in a sociological sense, and it has been discussed and debated and developed into different theoretical ideas, notions about power by most of the social thinkers, scholars and sociologists. Now we know that largely from the ancient period itself, people have been Aristotle to later thinkers of Weber, Marx, Durkheim, everybody in one way or the other had been speaking about power and using this concept to explain human behavior, social behavior, and in that sense we find that largely the sociologists, the scholars, their thinking could be divided into two variants of ways of thinking about power. One is the pluralistic notion of power, and the other is the critical, the Marxist notion of power. Now, the pluralistic notion of power believes it is something which is formulated and expressed by social thinkers who believe that interest groups they exercise choices in their day-to-day living, in their interaction with each other. These choices, they are rational and based on their own needs and the kind of way they want changes to be brought into their lives. So accordingly, these changes, they can be brought about by human agents, the human beings who are involved in certain social relationships in their lives, and as a collectivity they exercise these powers to get what their goal is. So in some ways, to achieve something, this kind of exercise of power is supposed to be enhancing their relationship or towards attainment of their goals or their objectives in life. So we find that in the pluralistic sense of power, the democracies, the way human groups, they interact with each other and exercise power within and between each other is something which is having this pluralistic kind of sense, where power is something positive to be used for attaining certain goals or objectives in lives. Now, in this sense, Louis Kozer is one of the scholars who talked about the concept of power, and he has defined power in the sense that how it is used by one group of people to attain the following or their behavior of, change the behavior of another group towards their own desirable events or their objectives. So in that sense, he is saying that power is used in two ways, as I mentioned earlier, the pluralistic and the critical notions of power. In critical notions of power, the idea is that there is some kind of a conflict in society. Mostly Marx has used this kind of theoretical scheme where one class dominates over the other, and in the process of domination they exercise certain control, certain power or the ability to make that group to do what they want to do. In that sense, there is always a conflictual relationship between one group and the other, or one individual over the other, and in this relationship there is exploitation, there is possibility of the conflict either getting resolved or leading into a radical social movement. So in that sense, the conflict approach of power is more veering towards the idea of domination of one group over the other. Before I explain this aspect, let me inform you that the pluralistic notion of power was basically discussed and developed by scholars from America like Talcott Parsons, and they believe that the power is of a positive nature. Now, it is said that power, uh, how power can be exercised by one individual over the other or one group over the other. What are the issues that are involved in getting this kind of behavior of one group leading or trying to force the other group to do. It's not always force that is used, as I said in the other approach towards power. Sometimes it is the collectivity is made to believe that they are going to gain by following the person who's going to lead them or whose authority they are supposed to follow. In these senses, power and power has a certain angle of topic such as of physical strength, of mental strength, of intellectual ability, of unusual excellence in their the leaders or the one group who has certain qualifications to be able to be using that power of knowledge over the others. So physical might and strength is one point which is used in the exercise of power, and another is unequal distribution of resources. Now it is said that everything given, if two groups have the same kind of resources, same kind of inputs, then there should not be any domination of one over the other or exercise of power of one group on the other. So in this sense, I was just thinking about Marxian concept, this idea that ultimately all societies will move towards a harmonious utopian society where each one will be given according to their needs and each one will do or work according to their own skills and interests. So that harmonious kind of society will not have any kind of power play within groups or between communities. So in that sense, that utopian kind of the idea of society, most harmonious society, that is something which has not been achieved as yet, because that resolving of unequal resources, resolving of inequalities which arise out of many other circumstances, and human nature by itself is varying constantly. It is always seen that throughout history and throughout the world itself, there is no community or society which has no inequality amongst it. So inequality is inherent. So hierarchy to a certain extent comes out of the process of human interaction in that sense, and the exercise of power is in a subtle or obvious way the kind of the administrative angle which is used by different leaders with different groups to maintain order and stability in society. So that is one way of thinking about how power is understood and exercised in societies, and how, in spite of so many theoretical discussions and debates about the concept of power, the element of power and inequality, they are not something which could be removed from society completely. Although scholars have worked about these ideas, and many of them have developed very interesting notions. Even literatures have worked about many societies where the community, the society would be so structured that everybody will do what they have been programmed to do. And in that sense, I was thinking about the novel Brave New World, where Aldous Huxley talks about the society being born out of test tubes, and everybody is programmed to do what they have been given. But there again, the play of power is very, it is there in the very root itself, that there is somebody who is deciding who will do what. So power is something which is inherent, which is found everywhere, and in this sense it is ubiquitous, and the other reasons. One was I spoke about the physical might and strength, which works towards exercise of power to a certain extent. But not everywhere it is the physical strength which leads to the exercise of power. There are other areas of unequal distribution of resources. The rich have the power of exercising their authority over the poor, and there are structured ways of doing that. So in that sense, societies are unequal in the world over, and the exercise of power is depending on certain traditional, certain social, cultural and behavioral ways. The other reason why power is exercised or power is accepted by of one group over the other is fear. Fear could also be a major reason why people follow a certain leader or certain group and do something which is against their own will, and in the process of doing that they are subordinate to the superordinate, that is the master who's the boss in that sense, or the one who is a master in exercise, owning the slave. In that kind of interaction, the idea of fear, the traditional legitimacy of that kind of authority, the fear of the dictator, there could be many areas where fear itself could be a reason for acceptance of power of one over the other. Another is rational calculation of advantage or loyalty as such. Traditionally, in feudal societies, one sees that in spite of the fact that the landlord has been getting the best out of the laborers, the farm laborers who have been working hard on his or his farm, but they are getting very little out of the output of the farm. The majority of the resources go to the landlord. Yet the traditional loyalty from father to son to grandson is such that the person who is subservient to the landlord does not object or rebel from that kind of ownership or that kind of exercise of authority of the lord over the serfs. Rational calculation of advantage is something which human beings exercise nearly in their day-to-day living, where when you find certain choices open to you, you select the one which you find is the easiest, the most convenient, the most practical and the most advantageous. So in that sense, you accept the authority of people or individuals who will give you that kind of advantage. So these are certain areas or the topics which explain to you what is the basis of power in societies when people or individuals exercise power of one over the other. Now, when we talk about basis of power, we find that there are certain related issues or concepts such as power and prestige. Now, we find what is prestige. Prestige is we say that a person who has old wealth, who is a landlord, a very well-known intellectual scholar, a very well-known musician, or the artist, painter, they have prestige. But is it same as power? Now that is something to think about, because prestige is generally associated with the concept of power. But it does not necessarily be following, that prestige does not always follow power, neither does power follow prestige. For example, I'll explain to you that in our society, for example, policemen do have the power. They can chuck you into the jailhouse, or they can give you a ticket, parking ticket, or something which they are authorized to do. But that is the authority which they have got from the position that they are occupying. But as per that position, they do not have any influence of the sort that a person, say for example, a renowned painter or artist, they have certain influence, they know people, they have certain kind of acceptance or general following of the people who have authority, and in that sense the influence or the prestige of that person is different from the power of the policeman. Now, for example, we can say that the Prime Minister of the country has both power as well as in prestige. So there are certain areas where power is standing alone, or where prestige also does not mean that they will have power. The artist may not have power as such, but that artist does have prestige. In the same way, we find there is another concept called authority, power and authority. Now, what is authority? Power, it is said that when power gets a legitimacy or justification from the society, then that power turns into authority. Authority could be something where the formal organization, it is the authority of a person who belongs to a certain formal organization. For example, a bureaucrat. That bureaucrat, as per the authority that he or she occupies, the status that person, job that person is doing, has a certain authority to control certain other people in his or her office or the social life as such, and has that authority as per the kind of rules, regulations and the guidelines that govern that person's status as such. So authority is something which is derived from that formal organization. But there are certain areas where power, institutionalized power also gets a certain authority. For example, the Baba, for example, a religious saint. That religious saint may not have institutionalized authority as such, but because there is a following, there is a structure of hierarchy in the Baba's own following, that gives that person a kind of power which is institutionalized. Let me explain to you how power and influence also differ from each other. Now, these are all used invariably, one as opposite to the other, and often confused in common parlance. But in sociological theories, there is a distinction between all these concepts, as I mentioned. Power and influence. Now, power is something which is more institutionalized, which attains a certain sanction from society or institutions where it is existing. Whereas influence is something which is pervasive, which is as individual's own status or position in society. According to that, the person is deriving the influence in society. So I have explained to you how power and prestige are different from each other, how power and influence differ from each other, and power and authority differ from each other. Now, what is the difference between power and domination? Again, the thing is, domination is due to a certain relationship between one over the other. That is, power may be saturated in the society as such amongst people. Power is of various kinds where people do have a choice in their lives. They have the power to do something or not to do something. But when it comes to domination, then we understand that there is the exercise of will of one over the other, whether it is a group or it's an individual. So domination is a more psychological term. In that sense, it goes with the personality and the authority of that person, according to which that person or that group dominates over the other group. Now, these related concepts are something which should be clearly understood by the student of sociology when they understand, try to understand the concept of power. Power and for example, when we talk about this notion of authority, then we have to also understand authority is again, as I said, deriving the legitimacy or justification from the society or the organization where the person or the persons belong. Now, various scholars have talked about these things, as I said in the beginning, and they have been thinking and theorizing about these issues. Now, when we think about the theoretical considerations, when we talk about the concept of power, the major notions, the theoretical traditions which have been followed, which have been developed by social scientists, the scholars, sociologists, they have been many. But here we are going to discuss some of them so that you get a good idea about how concept of power has been discussed and theorized by different scholars. Now, when we talk about power and domination, one person about whom you must have learned if you did your BA in sociology is Max Weber. Max Weber was a German, and he had been the kind of ideas that he developed was looking at his own society, German society, and where he found so much of conflict, and how he thought about that conflict and the kind of way it was exercised. He belonged to that the large, broader group of thinkers about the concept of power, to the conflict or the Marxist this thing, he veered towards that, in the sense he believed that domination occurs by the exercise of power of one group over the other or one person over the other. Now, Max Weber's concept of power derived from his idea of the concept of domination, and he had spoken about theories of action, social action, and in that sense he talked about how one group of the exercise of power of one individual over the other or one group over the other was determined by this idea of notion of authority, and in that sense his power is, according to him, power is structured into distinctive forms of domination through processes of rationalization. Power relations that were formerly matters of unreflective customs and habits became more conscious and deliberate social practices. Now, Weber seems to have talked about these two forms of rationalization. One was the instrumental, and the other was the value rationality. In the instrumental, he believed that because of the traditions, customs, and values, the societies they accepted the people who were under the control of certain leaders or authorities. They accepted their powers and they behaved according, or they obeyed these leaders or the institutions to which they followed in a sense blindly, without reflection, and they became under their control. And as such, the value valuation, instrumental form of rationalization was different from the value rationalization, where a certain kind of value or rational critical faculty was used to understand what is in favor of a person or the group in that sense. So Max Weber has been talking about social action and how social action led to a certain kind of the authorities, different authorities in society. He distinguished between rational legal authority, traditional authority and charismatic authority. And in that sense, rational legal authority, he believed that where human beings were conscious about the end of the actions, the action which led to certain kind of achievements, goals which were calculated and critically assessed. So that provided a certain kind of legitimacy. The critical reasoning provided that kind of rationality to that behavior. In the traditional authority that Weber talked about, he talked about basically the feudal societies where customs, traditions, they governed the behavior of individuals. Individuals or groups, they followed their traditional leaders in the society, so that because the customs, they gave legitimacy to that person's authority. The traditional authority of the king was followed because of the kind of customs which are based in the traditions, and people, this authority was institutionalized in that society. So traditional authority gains legitimacy from the traditions, customs, values of the societies in which they were found. Now, when we talk about the charismatic authority can be found it was found in the ancient history. In the present day also we find charismatic leaders. It is the individual who has exemplary qualities in himself or herself, and as per that quality, that person exercises control over the masses. In that sense, we can say that Mahatma Gandhi had a charismatic personality, or Mother Teresa, for example, who, because of what they were as individuals, what they stood for as individuals, people had a following, and they found these leaders to be exemplary in their qualities. And because of these qualities, they followed these leaders. So, Max Weber made a distinction between rational legal authority, traditional authority, and charismatic authority. And all these authorities, he has that idea of the different forms of rationalization, or the process of how these values or behaviors get structured, determined in society, and the domination of one over the other gains legitimacy from the society is there at the back of his thinking. So his thinking from social action to authority to personality to society is in a way a very consistent theorization from the small micro element to the macro. And basically Max Weber's ideas, they talked about the theoretical, the theories of human interaction, social human behavior, and how these behaviors could be understood in any society. As a different form of explanation of what I was talking about as the conflict, the power, concept of power understood as a conflict issue. And there Marxist notion is very important. And Marxist notion again is one which bases the idea is that he talks about class struggle. that how in different history, during the history of human societies, how during different periods, due to different modes of production, one group dominated over the other as one class over the other. So in this class struggle, he spoke that in the capitalist societies, there will be two classes: the bourgeois class, those who own all the resources, they have the capital in with them, and they exercise, they have the military force as well as the ability to exercise their ideas or control over ideas in the society. So in that sense, the bourgeois classes were the classes which dominated over the proletariat classes. Proletariat classes were the working classes. They had nothing but their labor to sell in the market. So in that sense, in the modern capitalist society, the market governed the relationship between the bourgeois and the proletariat. And the bourgeois exercised power over the proletariat because they were having in their hands in the resources which were needed for that mode of production, that is the forces of production and relations of production, both were in their hands, which include the capital, the ownership of the factories, the land, everything which is there for where the person, the other person could be employed, were in the hands of the rich classes, the bourgeois classes. So the difference between this class of bourgeoisie and the proletariat and other classes, the feudal or Asiatic mode of production, was that here kind of trade union could be generated. People who were who were ownerless or who had nothing but their labor, they came to be conscious about their existence as those who were deprived, who were exploited, and as such they turned from class in itself to a class for itself. They came together, they formed associations, they fought for their freedom, for better conditions, for better wages and other facilities which they felt that they were deprived. So in this struggle, in this conflict of one group over the other, the exercise of power was a very important phenomenon. And as such, Marx believed that there will be one phase or the society after the capitalist society, after the socialist society, where there will be no classes left and human beings would be free in a complete sense. That is the utopian society he talked about. Now, there are other scholars also who spoke about concept of power. One was Robert Michels. Robert Michels spoke about the iron law of oligarchy. Now, as you know, oligarchy means the authority or the rule of a few over the others, a family of few members, or a group of like-minded individuals who exercise certain authority over the others, their group ruling over the masses. That is the oligarchy. Now, what is this iron law of oligarchy he was talking about? Let me tell you. When he talked about this oligarchy, he was, what Michels believed was that human beings by nature are political animals, and the struggle for power is something which is inherent in their nature. So when people come together, they form a certain ruling group. Democratic society also, when it comes into being, there is a certain organization. Now, as a process, as a natural process of change, most of these democratic societies, they become oligarchic in nature. and they become oligarchic in nature. But then again, society has a certain inherent dislike for oligarchies. So there is a protest against these oligarchies, and when these oligarchies break up, they form either multiple oligarchies, and people, according to the kind of power that they exercise within their domains, they get divided. Oligarchies exercise power over the others and try to maintain a kind of stability in society, so that people who are discontented or who do not have the kind of facilities, or who feel deprived, their discontent is not brought on the surface, and they are not able to unite with each other to exercise their demand or protest. So in that sense, oligarchy tries to be status quo, and does not allow any kind of discontent to come out. But in the process of existence itself, through the period of time, majority of the democratic oligarchies, they break. This is what the iron law of oligarchy is, that it is bound to break. And when it breaks, the oligarchy is divided into multiple oligarchies based on the power of the local leader. Now, the weak leaders, they try to get away from the strong leaders, and they form their own constitution of power in their local areas. So, this does not mean that there is some kind of liberation from the exercise of power or freedom for the masses. In fact, here the masses remain where they were, and they are not getting any kind of freedom from the authority of the small body of leaders which form, or the democratic leaders. So democracies also keep changing and forming into different oligarchies. Now, when I talk about Robert Mitchell's, another person whose theory has been very prominent is Stephen Lukes. Stephen Lukes has also been talking about two kinds of powers. One is the power to, and the other is power over. He makes a distinction between these two concepts. Power to is something which is general, which is fused in society, and which is value neutral. But power over has the idea of domination or authority of one group over the other. And as per se, it involves ideological understanding about one rule of one class over the other. And generally people use power for a positive kind of a goal. As I said, how Talcott Parsons had also explained, that power is not something negative. Power can be used in a positive manner to gain more freedom, to have a demand for their own interests in modern societies. So, when we talk about power, this theory about how power can be of two varieties is coming out very clearly, and every scholar is falling either under the group of the multiple plural understanding of power, or the singular understanding of the class conflict, the conflictual understanding of power. And in that sense, Anthony Giddens and many other scholars like Mosca and this person and Stephen Lukes, they have all talked about power and the way it has been understood and accepted by different scholars to understand the new kind of changes in society, how society is moving towards more and more revolutions of miniature kinds, and yet the kind of changes that these revolutions, small minute revolutions, bring about is stability and getting more power for the masses. And in that sense, the utopian society to which Marx had referred is not very far away in my view. Thank you.